let's get this out of the way. There are quite a few things about this van that are downright infuriating. The window switches, for instance, which are simply awful, or the placement and function of all the buttons that control the lights and defrost for some reason that are all touch and frankly confusing to use. According to the EPA, it'll only do around 234 miles of range on a fully charged battery, and that battery charges at a maximum of 200 kilowatts, which isn't bad, but not exactly record-breaking either. It's got a major wind buffeting problem, the rear brakes squeal and grab when cold, and when optioned like this one, it costs nearly 70 grand. In case you've been living under a rock, this is the Volkswagen ID Buzz, and I've just gotta come out and say it, objectively there are better EVs for the money. But here's the thing, so many people, me included, just don't really care. Because out here in the real world, this retro-inspired minivan is so full of character and charm, I've been trying to find a reason to park one in my driveway long term. It's certainly not perfect, but I absolutely love it. And so does virtually everyone else who gets the chance to meet it. It doesn't exactly take an automotive expert to see where VW drew design inspiration from, and even younger kids who might not know what an old air-cooled microbus is seem to think it's fantastic. Its big, smiling face is flanked by standard adaptive LED headlights, with a big, backlit VW badge standing proudly in the middle. The upper half of the body is almost exclusively made of glass, giving it a more squatted and almost chopped look, and the two-tone paint adds kind of a whimsy most vehicles just can't touch. Around the back, you get a full-width light bar with slim LED taillights, little lip spoilers top and bottom, and a few cosmetic detail pieces that help break up the D-pillar. The charge port isn't electrically operated, and you can fully open the side door while charging. Someone at VW was paying attention. On the first edition anyway, you get these old school looking wheel covers which not only look great, but I'm told are key players to the van's impressive drag coefficient of just 0.285. And while, for safety reasons, you can't really match the cab-over design of the old bus, VW has done a downright excellent job styling the Buzz to give you the same sort of vibe with the wheels pushed all the way out to the edges, basically as far as they can go, and its upright glass and hood. Speaking of the hood, I'm pretty sure the last time any VW Group car had a hood that opened like this was the Audi A2 from the early 2000s, and unfortunately, there is no storage in there, just access to washer fluid and coolant and a jump point in case the small 12-volt battery were to die. Volkswagen has been teasing us with the new bus for literally decades. Back in 2001, they showed us a microbus concept in Detroit. Then in 2011, the Bully EV concept. In 2016, the Bud E concept built on what would become VW's MEB electric platform, and in 2017, the actual ID Buzz concept rolled out in Detroit with that punny Buzz name to set up the rest of the ID family. A family which VW is now reversing course on and getting rid of the whole ID scheme altogether. Anyway, Europe got their version in 2022, but it wasn't until 2023 that the US long wheelbase 3-row finally debuted. And here we are in 2025. 25 years of teasing later, the bus is officially back, just with batteries instead of a flat 4. Pop the hatch, and with that third row up, even without the anemic air-cooled engine, trunk space is fairly limited. And if you buy the optional charger, which, yeah, it doesn't come with a charger as standard for some reason, one of these storage totes will be pretty much taken up by that. But remove the third row, fold down the second, and you actually have more cargo volume in here than on a new Chevy Suburban, which is straight up impressive. Now, the trade-off to that trunk space is the straight-up cavernous amounts of room no matter where you're sitting in this thing, and it will very comfortably fit 7 fully grown adults, and because of its relatively high roof, even taller folks will have no problem getting in and out of even the third row seat extremely easily. Or at least that's what I've been told. I'm only 5'9". Our tester has the second row bench, but captain's center seats are optional. And no matter where you're sitting, there are plenty of charge ports for all of your devices. Second row passengers also get their own dual zone climate controls, and the outer two even get heated seats, which is always appreciated. The center console is designed to be removed, which is cool for when inevitably people start transforming these into campers, and our car has the optional electrochromatic roof glass, which snaps between an opaque gray and clear with just the swipe of a button. It's a super cool party trick, and it blocks the sun better than you might expect. Climb into the captain's chair with the key in your pocket and the accessory mode is instantly switched on, and a simple press of the brake pedal brings the drive system to life. There's no need to ever push the start button if you don't want to, as once you're in park, climbing out of the seat shuts the whole thing down. I've heard from a few journalists that reviewed the Buzz earlier this year that the system was frustrating and confusing. I'm not sure if VW pushed a software update or who knows, but I haven't had a single problem. The instrument cluster has been shrunk down to a small screen that just shows basics like speed, state of charge, available range, and everything you need to know about cruise control. It's possible to get a heads-up display, but not on first edition models. Like so many new cars, the main way you interact with things in here is through this massive touchscreen. It's an improved and redesigned unit from VW that makes its debut here and is already trickling down to cars like the GTI. There's a slight learning curve, but honestly, it works fine. It's quick and responsive, and CarPlay has worked flawlessly for me all week. Now, if you don't use the native navigation system, you don't get the cool light animation that tells you things like when to turn or take an exit, and hopefully that can be updated in the future to work with other apps. The rear view camera isn't great, but the biggest pain in here are the touch controls for both heat and volume. Again, the sliders themselves actually work fine, and they're backlit now, but there's no way this is safer than just having a few buttons or knobs. The same can be said about the haptic controls on the steering wheel, which again, actually work fine, but you have to look down and see what you're tapping on or swiping on, and which it takes your eyes off the road. I really haven't had any problems accidentally, say, activating the heated steering wheel while turning like I did in the pre-facelift GTI, but I think we can all agree that giving us back a few buttons would be preferred. The front seats are heated, cooled, and have massage, but the massage function is just a couple air bladders that kind of slowly push on you and sort of sound like sitting in a room with someone who's on a ventilator. The heating and cooling parts work great though, and I don't think I'd call the seats Audi levels of luxury, but they are comfortable, and these dual armrests are a nice touch. There's quite a bit of hard plastic in here, but everything really does feel well made and sort of optimized for the sort of abuse vehicles like this will probably get through the years as people movers. And also, the front doors shut with that solid German thunk that screams quality. Sound system is great with plenty of punch and clarity, and all passenger versions of the Buzz get rain sensing wipers as standard. Also, overall visibility is really good, although the relatively small squared off side mirrors are just okay. But I think Matt Farah said it best. It's like driving a monorail. The glass is literally like 3.5 feet in front of you, and the dash is big enough to serve a Thanksgiving feast on. But surprisingly, it's really easy to drive. It centers itself nicely and it's easy to place. For being a pretty massive vehicle, I expected things like parking to be kind of a chore, but somehow it's just not. Good job, Volkswagen. Now, you twist this gear lever forward to go forward and backward for reverse. It works fine, and all the wiper controls have been moved over to the turn signal stock, which has a nice solid action, but the indicator is extremely quiet. I don't really mind that, but some people might. Twist the gear lever forward again, and it puts the Buzz in almost one-pedal driving mode. I say almost because it will slow you all the way down to about 3 miles an hour, and then you have to take over braking yourself, even though it has brake hold assist capability. So I'm not really sure why they didn't just program for one-pedal driving full stop, or at least give folks the option. Right off the bat, if you've ever driven an old bus or a van again, acceleration in this thing is light years ahead. It pulls super strong right off the line, but does start to run out of twist at around 40 miles an hour. Car and Driver recorded a 0 to 60 time in just 5.5 seconds for the dual motor all-wheel drive version of this thing, which is properly quick. However, it's also properly heavy, weighing in at just over 6,100 pounds. That's roughly 3,500 pounds more than an old Type 2 bus, and roughly 1,500 more than a fully loaded Honda Odyssey. It's not typical EV make everyone feel sick fast, but it doesn't feel underpowered either. Now, some early reviews noted that brake travel and feel wasn't exactly great, and that the mechanical brakes didn't always play nice with the EV regen function. I can't say I've really experienced anything quite like that here, except for the first 10 or so brake applications when they're cold. Come to a stop, say below 3 to 5 miles an hour, and sometimes like that. The rear brakes just latch on and make this terrible grinding noise. I think they're drums back there, by the way. I'm not sure if that's a problem specific to this van. I'm not sure maybe if that's what some other reviewers were feeling their van's doing too. Regardless, it's an issue, but I'm sure Volkswagen will come up with a fix. It seems like once the brakes warm up a little bit, that problem pretty much entirely goes away. And I think it's important to keep in mind that this is an early production van with almost 10,000 journalist-driven miles. And let's be honest, we're not exactly easy on these press cars. Still, that's no excuse. Volkswagen, you've got to take care of this. As for the suspension, it's surprisingly well-mannered. It's not overly firm and doesn't crash over bumps or anything, but it's a lot more athletic feeling than you might expect out of something in this class. And the payoff here, especially when paired with this pretty accurate steering, is a van that can actually be hustled if needed and never feels like a big lumbering behemoth on the freeway. If you had to make an emergency maneuver, the Buzz responds confidently, and I appreciate that. Now, because of its incredibly long wheelbase of over 131 inches, you do sometimes get this sort of forward and back porpoising motion on certain highways. But I think that's just a factor of having axles in different continents, and not so much a suspension tuning thing. It doesn't bother me, but it's worth noting. It honestly just kind of drives like you'd expect a Volkswagen to. And while it's not the sharpest or most engaging thing to sit behind the wheel of, I think it drives better than basically everything else in its class. Oh, and bonus points for its excellent turning radius of just 37.4 feet. So what's the verdict? Well, the ID Buzz isn't perfect. I'd like a bit more range, maybe a bit quicker charging, a solution to the terrible window controls and wind buffeting problem, which I found that if you roll both front windows all the way down and open the rears by about 50%, you can sort of skirt the problem, but that's not really a solution. I want VW to include a charger in their flagship EV as standard, and I wish they'd give us back some physical buttons for some of the basic controls people use every day. And I don't want to have to pay $70,000 to put up with all those shortcomings. But even with all that, if I was in the market for a vehicle like this, which currently kind of stands in a class of its own, I'd have a hard time not bringing it home to meet the parents. It's quirky and fun and charming in a way that just makes people happy, and every time I had to go anywhere all week, I found myself grabbing the keys for the Buzz every single time. My brain says pick an EV9 or a Sienna or an Odyssey or even a Pacifica, but the heart wants what it wants. And when VW builds cars that are somehow greater than the sum of their parts, well, that's VW at its very best. Big thanks to Volkswagen for lending me your Buzz for the week, and as always, an even bigger thanks to all of you for watching. My name's Trav, sorry for the audio, the leaf blower enthusiast over there. That's the VW Buzz. Get subscribed for more, and I'll see you all with a fresh review next week.